Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. That's... Okay, yeah, one thing. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hit everyone here. And I'm gonna say anime club tonight. Finales and maybe... Oh, wait. Today's Saturday. I was gonna invoke birthday magic to have people show up. Because it's my birthday, but I'm not gonna... Honestly, I've had a lot of Easters on my birthday, to be honest. Oh man, there was one year where apparently Buddha slash Easter, and there was like a third thing that lined up all on the same day, and I was like, and it was my birthday, and I was like, oh, this is sick. I don't know, maybe I'm being deified. Who knows? We'll find out. Finales and it could be. Oh no. I think I did actually. I mean, that could be cool. I don't know. Maybe? We gotta... Yes, that's likely. Oh, right, hold on. I was supposed to be doing something. It is this. Yeah. Where is this? This one. Okay, so I push V, and then I put the G2 button. Oh, man. There was a dumb thing that I was thinking about in, like, future VTuber stuff. I forgot what it... Oh, now I remember. I was gonna map a key, so that, like, I would have, like, a small animation play behind my character. Where, like, it would, like, show, like, the outlines of, like, a sword made of light, but, like, completely sheathed. And, like, and I would just press it in, like, moments where it's just, like, I feel, like, potential or whatever. And then, like, I would just, like, press the thing but never say anything about it. It could be fun. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad I didn't forget, so I could tell you about it. And I will try to remember it in the future. Right. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna close this too. Send me a figure of me, please. And then you could be when you're old grandma Tegan or whatever with like your or it's like, yeah, sure, grandma, let's get you to bed. And it's just like oh man, honestly, that'd be really funny. Dio grandma and Jotaro granddaughter. It's like, yeah, I can't kick your ass if you're all the way over there. Oh, that sounds amazing. Okay, let me see. That's right, no one can hear you, so I'm kind of just talking to myself at the moment. Yeah, that's... Well, they're gonna hear you in about 2 seconds.
Oh, hang on, I gotta get in the chat. You can't do this to me!
Hello! This is Rocky. My name's Rocky Hardy. This is the Impossible Point stream. It is Splatoon Saturday. It also happens to be my birthday. No big deal. Just hang out. Be cool. And we're...
It is! Say happy birthday!
Thank you, Tegan.
You should have put in a birthday command.
Oh.
Did you make a room? Because I made a room.
No, I can join your
Okay.
room, but I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna say, it's my birthday.
Happy birthday. Oh, you know what this means? You have to play the Miku song.
The Miku song?
Yeah. Blessings for your birthday. Blessings for your everyday.
Oh my god, I've never heard that song in my life, but I'm down to play it.
You've heard the Blessings birthday song?
Oh my god.
Oh my god. The producer of the song wrote it for their cousin or their nephew. I forget which. But they were wanting to unalive themselves.
Oh.
And they wrote them this song of all of their favorite Vocaloids, wishing them happy birthday on their birthday, and then they didn't want to kill themselves anymore. Isn't that great?
That is pretty great. That is a solid story. I think it's worth a listen.
It's a song. It's good. It makes me emotional.
Okay.
But I make no promises for you.
I mean, that makes sense. Tegan is rarely emotional, so that works.
Am I?
I mean, I think you have like big explosions of emotion, but like I think you're not like commonly emotive, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's fair. Yeah, that tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on or I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're all set. It's us.
Mm-hmm.
It's my birthday, MBD.
Yeah.
Why isn't that in the title?
Oh.
You should be like, I can't believe they're making me work on my birthday.
I did put that in the go live notification.
Oh, good. Okay. I haven't seen the go live notification because I'm trash.
Oh my god, relax, Tegan.
Normally I hate working on my birthday, but Splatoon is fine, I guess. Amazing. What a time to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is all random all mid.
Yep.
A person. We're playing with a person today.
Wait, that's their name. A person. All right,
Yeah,
cool.
Person. And also cool name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hell yeah. I got a gun.
I have the Grizz blaster, but someone has the Grizz bow. Oh, it's low tide.
It's low tide. Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
Yep.
missile thing.
I got left. Good shit.
We got it.
A person was down, but I picked him up. I'm going back over.
We're doing great. I forgot that I like lowered my stuff the other day.
Oh.
So I'm an overachiever right now.
I see.
But it didn't matter because the other day when I was playing, everything sucked. Everyone was bad.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay, we're down to 10. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. I can hold shoot this. Okay, my bad. I forgot. It's crazy that the Grizz bow person's the one that left.
They left?
Yep, that's where
Oh,
we're
did
10.
they just CC?
I mean, maybe.
Oh, did you die?
I am.
Where are you? Hey.
Wait.
Oh. Oh, cool guy's back there. Oh, I died.
Jesus. Yeah, I think that's it, actually.
Yikes. Oh no. That was bad.
God, they were like, okay, you know what? It's fine. Give me a second. I'm gonna adjust some things.
Yeah, I'll give you many seconds.
Lux.
How dare you move Lux?
Wow. I will. Okay. I got a pay cut? What kind of garbage is this? These nerds are messing with my pay on my birthday?
On your birthday?
Oh my god. I gotta get my pay back, Tiggs. I'm kidding. I just went down
sorry.
like 10 points. It's okay.
I will work so hard for you though.
I appreciate it.
I'm at 30 out of 99 for overachiever because I kept losing yesterday because nobody knew how to do anything. It was so bad. Okay. Cool name is back. We got a new dude.
Alright, as long as they're not a person. Ooh, I have Splattershot Jr.
I have a blaster.
Crash, right? I mean, not Crash, but
Yeah. It's nighttime. Watch out.
Okay.
Blowflies.
Okay, which one is it? It's that one over there, right?
Yeah, it's this one.
Well, they're in the
Dude,
wrong place.
come over here.
Okay, here we go.
Ah, I got
Good shit.
pushed off. Ah, I died. There was only one way out of that, and it was death. I'm coming. In front, please. Oh my
Okay.
god, dude! No!
That was
Why?
ridiculous. Okay.
Rush! Why? Oh my goodness.
That was a little rough. Yeah, not great.
We were in the right spot though. You see what I mean?
Yep.
There's only one way up. They can't get you otherwise.
You hear that? All you had to do is
Can't
point
believe
to
you're
them
out
forward.
here. Right? And then you just need someone to like stand slightly offside to get the eggs, and you can throw them in because it's like really close to the egg. The basket. The egg basket.
Okay, brain
Ooh.
blaster. Brain blaster blow.
I got the stinger. I'm good. High tide. Nighttime. If it's glowflies again, I'm gonna cry.
It's Goldie.
Goldie.
Found her.
Oh.
I need help, actually.
Sorry, I don't have like any ink. This is like the worst weapon, Grizz weapon for this.
Oh, the bow?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, but like, you know, just focus on like the baby things, you know, wave clear.
Oh, hello. Hey, Goldie. Wasn't expecting you.
Damn, I thought I would get her again. Good shit, Teeks.
Yeah, those are our eggs.
True. Oh, it's over there.
Oh, I'm out of ink. I'm just straight up out of ink.
Well, we've gotten exactly one round that makes sense.
I don't know why this way when I meant to booyah, but that's fine.
It's got our ups and downs mixed up. Okay, so now I have the Disco streamer. Okay. And it's low time? No, mid time.
It's nighttime.
Mothership!
It's mothership!
Okay, we don't have a coordinated group, so we may not be able to do the strat. But I want to try it anyways. So, kill the dudes and put the eggs near the basket.
I put that one in on accident. Get out of here.
They're putting them in. It's fine. They don't know any better.
Yeah, it's fine. Oh my god, this thing is a real ink sink.
Yes.
Alright, well we got 33.
Right. Which is still pretty good.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll get more.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get your timer back. Oh, I got my pencil!
Got undercover umbrella.
Get down, Mr. President.
Let's go pencil.
Where?
I got the
over
singer.
there. Okay.
He's down. I'm getting away from the Celio.
You want to just toss him up?
Oh, true. Yeah, you're right.
There's a guy. Oh, hello.
What kind of guy?
Guy. There's 2 dolphins up here.
Noted. Thank you. Oh, hi.
And a big shot. That's the guy. That's the guy I meant.
Oh.
I meant a big shot.
Noted. Ow. Ah, shit.
Oh, and now there's a guy.
Steelio inside the base.
Whoop. Delia outside the base.
Steelio down.
I went and got our guy. He was just dead and wasn't saying anything. Cool guy.
Yeah, I think they're not having a great round, to be honest.
Yeah. I got, but it's okay. I didn't do a single cool sniper thing, but it's all right. Whoosh.
That was a pretty chill shift. I like that.
That wasn't too bad.
93 eggs.
Nice. Good job.
Mm-hmm.
We just gotta keep up that kind of flow for extra work.
I'm down. Codename did put up 36 eggs. They died a lot, but like 36 eggs is pretty serious.
Yeah. I wonder how many of them were at the beginning during Mothership when we were just throwing them over.
Yeah, maybe. I could believe that.
I like the pencil. I should get better at the pencil.
Pencil's pretty cool.
Oh, back at it again.
Same squad? Okay.
Yep. Oh no. What do we got? Where are we looking? Oh.
Got left.
Think I got right?
Let's go.
Did I?
I mean, it went down. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, there's a fish stick coming in.
Yeah. Full name is just staying dead. Not a fan of that.
Fish stick is not a problem.
Let's go.
I hear...
I see a steelhead. They got it.
I got him.
Good shit. Let's go. Now, if they just weren't dead all the time, you know?
Yeah.
That's quota.
Oh, hello. Hi, little friends. Hi.
That is not efficient. Oh, fuck. Ah, I didn't get that in time.
What's not efficient?
To kill, like, the saucer, I needed 3, like, Grizz Crow stringer shots to kill it.
Oh. Oh, do you also have a stringer?
Yeah, we had 3 stringers that round.
Oh, shit. That's goofy.
Oh, but
Oh, I have a crash blaster.
I
A
got-
range blaster.
okay. I got Flintstone.
Alright. It's Moz.
I also see a, steelhead.
Good news, Moz is down.
Let's go. You take those.
Took 2 seconds.
Got the steelhead.
Thank you. Because
Here to
that
help.
thing was just coming. Hi.
We should have 3 more eggs, right? Oh, no. I'm gonna have trouble with this fish stick if someone wants to grab that.
I'd like to, but apparently it's illegal.
Illegal? What kind of garbage is that?
Yeah. I just didn't want to like hit it for some reason. Okay, where? Hello? Where are you, missiles? Hear missiles. I hear them. Oh, they're back there.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Ah, okay. For select quota, which is
Mine.
fine. Not yours. There we go.
This stupid dolphin.
Good.
Hello?
Oh, I should
More
probably be doing.
missiles.
I should do something
What?
about that dolphin, actually.
Why are there more missiles? No, I hit you. I know I did. Get out of here.
Got it. Let's go.
God. Rude. Illegal. Get out of here.
This up,
What
Teeks.
do I got? Oh, I got a 52 gal. Okay, I'll be fine.
I got the Nautilus. Cloud Boy.
Okay.
Not where I was pointing, actually. I fucked up.
That's alright. There's a dolphin over here.
Where?
Nobody cares about the dolphin but me. That's fine. It's fine. I got him.
I took out the Cloud Boy, but he got 2 clouds off, you know?
There's a Moz over here also. Hello? Hello?
Going.
I am very dead.
Shit.
Thanks.
Here to help.
My Iggy. Oh, I got. The stinger got me.
There you go, Teeks.
Thanks.
Alright, up we go. We lost like 4 eggs. Fuck. Okay, I'm getting the stinger over on this side.
I'm coming with you.
Okay, we
I'm
just
getting
need
the
2
other
of
stinger.
these.
I'm getting that other stinger.
Okay.
Since apparently nobody cares.
Okay, we need to get 2 eggs in, Teeks. We just need an egg. And I have 1. Okay. We got it. Never mind, it's fine.
Yeah, we got it.
Just don't die.
I simply will not. I'm immortal.
Let's go, Teeks.
I'm unkillable.
Hey, June. This morning is, it's pretty good, but like sometimes we play with scrubs. If you want to join us, that'd be cool. I'd appreciate it.
We play with scrubs right now. Cool guy is bad. Tegan, thank you. I'm so good.
Also, thank you, Jude, for wishing me a happy birthday. I appreciate it.
Turns out I am goated with the sauce. Okay, so we're gonna dodge these dudes.
Yep. I don't want to.
They're bad.
Yeah.
Me either. Get him out of here, Eve. Go away.
Oh, okay. So Teeks, I rediscovered a lost like piece of hip hop history the other day.
Oh yeah.
Brought me a lot of joy.
Is it that video that you sent us on accident?
Yeah, it is that video I sent you guys on accident. So the guy who's doing that hook, Avery Storm, is one of the guys that was like coming up with like some of the hip hop sounds of that time, like Rick Ross and like Drake and all them. But personally, what I think happened is that like Avery Storm, who was like coming up, also I think John Legend was in that circle a little bit, because John Legend already existed and like Rick Ross has already thrown his like weight behind like Drake. Avery Storm never got like the opportunity to put out like a real like premiere, which sucks because he was good at writing hooks. Cause that hook at the beginning of that video that I sent you, that thing was sick. I love that so much. I got a bunch of dollars I can spend it on her. She can be my lady, she can be my lover. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. That's exactly what it was like. And I was like, I love Avery Storm. I thought he was sick. So I made a point to go through like the music streaming services that I have access to, and like, you know, check out his stuff and see what I want to add to like my regular playlist because he deserves a shine.
Oh my god. Well, I hope he gets it in this new world where we are rediscovering old favorites.
Yeah, right. Random weapons, let's go. Yeah, right, June? The Grizz weapon that's in rotation right now seems to be the bow. I haven't gotten anything else yet.
It's all random, all mid. We're doing our own ARAM.
Oh, did I tell you about the ARAM changes?
No.
So like now,
is it no longer random?
No, it's still ARAM, but like when you destroy like the first tower and the second tower, instead of just disappearing from the map, it actually falls to the side and makes like a hazard that's difficult for you to walk through. Like you can walk around like a tiny sliver like the edge that lets you walk into a bush on the other side, or you have to walk all the way around and go like to where the path where the minions come out. It's pretty gnarly.
Oh my god, that sounds great. Good on them for making it harder. Alrighty. Ooh, okay, I have a Splatbrella.
I have a corn flip's chance of wishing the wrong person happy birthday, and frankly, I dot? What are you dotting, Gata?
Gata has simply just forgotten when my birthday is.
That was pretty good.
Which is amazing because we're both Sagittarius, Gata. Gata? Ah, thank you.
Oh, right, he says. Oh, they got the big shot. That's cool. Can I get this? Ah! Yes!
Oh, I got ink. Oh, no. Help, I am dead. Gotta forgore. Gotta forgore about me again. I am Gata's least favorite child.
Oh, gosh.
No, I missed it. I missed it.
I don't like that.
There are so many Italians over here. Hello?
Got the...
I did get it. But at what cost?
Oh, Jesus. This is so wild. Oh, both of you are dead. Hi.
We are dead.
No, you're not.
Okay, I'm gonna start putting stuff in.
That works.
I'm not convinced that anyone is. Oh my god, hello.
I got the fly fish though. I got the fly fish. Happy birthday,
no.
Rockington. Thank you, Gata.
That all went to waste because I died. I just straight up, I jumped in here and got fucking beansed.
Oh, jeez.
It was fine. Ooh, okay. It wants me to learn how to snipe today.
I got Slash Machine.
I got a squiffer. Where are we looking? Oh, it's over here.
What is it?
It's in Italian.
Okay.
It's 2 Italians.
Stun the Italian. Stun the other Italian. Swiffer Webjet today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Swiffer
Today's
Webjet.
sponsor. I wish. Oh.
Ooh, give me the steelhead. Come here, steelhead. Come here, you big dummy.
Oh, you want to take it? Okay.
Ah, fuck.
I guess I will let you take it instead of me, the sniper.
I appreciate it. Okay. I'm getting zoned. Fine. Woo! That only took forever.
Oh, somebody died behind us.
We'll get him.
Who is it? Who died? Is it John?
It's not June, it's Stormy Cat.
Oh, that's fine.
God damn it. I deserve that. With my chicken shit on the floor, I reached for my trusty Swiffer wet jet.
No. No? No?
I got it,
There
Teach.
you go. Thank you. Because I don't anymore.
Up. Oh, fuck. Yeah, that's fine. God
I'm
damn it.
coming. I threw a thing. Did it work?
It was a little
No,
shallow.
I missed you. Okay.
I have 1 egg. June, on your right, on your right.
I got you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When June's dead body's bleeding out all over my linoleum, I reached for my
God.
trusty Swiffer wet jet. Oh, fuck.
So it goes. Oh, aw,
Okay.
damn it.
I'm back on dualies. Let's go.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Slow tide.
Low
I
tide.
got a heckin' bamboozler.
Bamboozler's kind of sick, Teagues. You know how to use it. You got it.
Bamboozler sucks. I hate this thing.
Oh my gosh.
I can still hate it, okay? I can know how it works and still hate it.
That's true. You can. You can. That's true.
I fell in the water. No! No!
Did I get the second one? I got the fly fish and spoon!
The flyfish got me though, so.
Aww. Well,
Thanks, John.
ow, Drizzler.
John, I'm suffering and I'm sorry.
Thank you. Shit. Got it.
Oh my god. Have you ever seen anyone suffer as much as I am suffering right now? Be honest. Ooh, hi! Aw, damn.
Why are there 2 of them?
Excellent. You know what? If I could answer that question. Mine.
Not yours. Okay, this is it. That's our 3. Put him in. Let's go.
They're in. We're good. Buddy, Stormy, please. I'm begging you to use your mouth to announce where you are. No, I fell again in the water.
No, but at least the cameras are rolling. We can suffer together as a family. We did it. We survived. Oh my.
I still died at the end. That was so bad.
I'm so sorry.
What am I doing?
I will suffer.
I apologize to my friends, my family, to Rocky in particular.
Forgiven, Teeks.
God.
Oh man.
Obviously, it wasn't a real apology needed, but I was suffering. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging my struggle. 8 deaths. Yeah.
8 deaths. Ooh.
It was bad.
Okay,
Thanks.
but Teeks, are you ready to fight whatever Ouroboros thing we're gonna fight today?
Yeah.
Ouroboros Kozuna?
As long as I don't have the bamboozler. Squiffering, that's nothing. No, I squiffered once during this this playthrough already because I had the squiffer, but it did not ease my squiffering. No.
Slosh machine again.
Splatrella, high tide.
June's got the Grizz Go Stinger.
High tide nighttime. What's up? Is it?
Glow flies. Mothership.
Mothership. Okay.
Okay, let's try to do the strat. Okay, so put the eggs around the basket, not in the basket. And when the mothership locks down, what you're gonna do is just like try to aim at the top of it. Okay, mothership's coming down.
Alright, I'm gonna be on egg protection.
Got it. Ah!
I got one!
Nice.
Alright, we're doing great. We're doing great so far.
Last 30 seconds, start putting everything in the basket.
In they go! There it comes! Yes! Oh, that's good!
Damn.
It's good!
36 is good.
High tide, I'm dad. Oh, I just have a regular reflux.
I Explosser.
Acid reflux.
Acid reflux. God damn it.
That was funny.
Okay, now if I remember correctly, that should... Got it! Okay, those do pierce. Right, there we go. I just need to... Hey, Loxley, thank you.
Oh my god, hello.
Okay, I'm still in it.
Are you in it to win it though?
I'm out here. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna count it. There we go. I need more ink. Got it. Watch this dolphin. Oh, can someone get that stinger? What the fuck? Why is this stinger here? I'm coming, June.
I got in the middle. Jun also got in the middle.
Noted.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh-huh. Woo! Okay. We are well over quota.
Yeah, we got this.
Let's do our best to not die.
Simply don't die. Got it. Yeah.
Where is...
Just get good.
I want to...
If everyone could just get good for the next 4 seconds, that'd be great.
4 seconds of getting good, I can do that.
Thanks.
Oh, also, oh god. Teeks, I rewatched probably the best episode of Black Clover the other day. Where,
oh yeah?
Where like, they give Asta like a stupid time limit. It's like, you got 50 seconds or your arm's gonna give out. And then they give him like untold power. And he has like 2 swords and he loses both his swords, but then his master throws the 3rd sword to him. And then they win the fight.
Amazing.
It was perfect, I love it.
I'm getting in this one.
What do I have? I have the string, I have the Frisco? Never mind, I'm not getting in anything. I'm wave clear.
I'm getting in this thing, yeah. You're not gonna need a wave clear at this rate.
Let's go. Why is everyone out? I'm gonna take the second cannon. I got it. That's not yours.
I mean, a cannon. I am doing my best. Out of ink. Alright, full of ink.
Good shit.
They're trying to block my camera shot, or my camera shots, my cannon shots.
Yeah, I hear that.
With these fish sticks.
At least it's quota. A lot of eggs on the table, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, not much. Not that much you can do, but God, there were so many eggs.
So many eggs, yeah. Here we go!
What is it? What is it? What is it?
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros. He got a hot plate. God, are you ready to fight a Ouroboros?
Splatter shot! Okay, I'm in. I'm dialed in.
I got a 52 gal.
Shit, gotta back up. Teague's up!
You missed it.
There we go. Where is it?
No.
It's cycling around
Not
this way.
quite.
Over here. I got 6 eggs. Oh, I got pushed in the water by the steel eel.
Working on it. No, I missed. I missed.
Oh, man.
No, I got pushed in the water. We are not doing well.
No, not really.
We're at 50%. Oh shit. Ah.
Don't panic. You're good. You're good. June's up.
You shouldn't be able to hit me if I'm underneath the Ouroboros. That's illegal.
Oh my gosh.
The Ouroboros should block the missiles, I think. Tegan, did you ask me a question? I thought I heard my name and then stream fucking buffered. I did! I asked if you were ready to fight a Ouroboros.
Oh man, the stream buffered? I'm sorry.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes stream buffer.
No, Tegan declared that she's got his least favorite child. She did not ask.
Oh, I did do that too.
Alright.
I did do that too.
I can kill a Ouroboros. I know I can. Wait, where's my, Did I cash in my rewards already? No, it just doesn't show the number. It doesn't show the number until I'm outside of a cube.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I was like, I have like 20. What the fuck? Why is there none of them there?
Yeah, we got, today's stream comp is an Aries, a Gemini, and a Sagittarius.
Oh god, June's a Gemini?
Yeah!
I would not have guessed that. That's pretty good though. Shout out to June. June Force Gemini!
Tegan is not my least favorite child. I don't even know who my least favorite child is on account of them being my least favorite. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. I don't know, Dada. You forgot about me from October, so like, I think that means it's me.
I got bright cannon.
Oh, I want to get in a cannon. Let me in a cannon. I'm bad at this.
Steel eel down.
Oh, nope. I lied. Moz wants my ass.
Big shot on the right. Big shot is down. Cover me on the big shot. I'm just gonna fire these eggs back.
Yeah.
Done.
Whoa. I got mod. I realized too late I was getting mod.
Yeah, that happens. I feel ya. Down. Going for the stinger. Stinger down. Kind of nice at this.
Yeah, it's fun. I like being in the cannon.
Hey, that's... Don't... Hey. Oh, fuck. There we go, I got it. I'm out of aim. Cheeks, you gonna be okay with that dolphin?
Yeah, there's also a Moz coming off of me, so.
Okay.
I'm just a little, I had to abandon my cannon.
I hear that.
Okay, but we're good. And we got quota, so.
Oh, yeah.
We don't really need to worry about it.
I forgot about an RP thread. I've ghosted June for like 2 years once. This isn't even a record breaker. Holy shit.
Amazing. I can't imagine ghosting Jin for 2 years.
That's pretty wild.
I can't imagine the Jin of today allowing you to ghost them for that long, frankly.
Low tide still?
Yeah, low tide still. I'm gonna get that stinger.
Okay, I'm gonna snipe from the left, I guess. Is that an Italian? There's an Italian in here?
It is.
Italian's done. Italian down.
Stinger's down. You know what I love? Whatever the fuck I'm using. What is this? NZAP? Oh, I'm out of ink.
Are you guys getting that? Okay. You guys aren't gonna climb up there? Okay. I'm going for the steelhead over here.
Sorry, I am losing all my eggs right now. Hang on.
You're good, Cheeks. I just died, though. The Jude of today got hands? Hell yeah, let's go.
Oh. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
You came all the way around.
Up. Whoop. No, I jumped in the water. Dang it. I didn't lean far enough.
I hear that.
Yeah. Ah, dang it. Sorry. I'm going. No! I got knocked in the water. I died. It's weird. Is it weird I want McDonald's Filet-O-Fish right now? No! It's tomorrow's Easter. It's Lent time. That makes sense.
I lived! Let's go, Jude.
You lived! Ooh. Also, it's probably because I forgot about it. Amazing.
High tide fog. Stay close, don't get cornered.
Heal.
Oh, hi.
Heal.
Yep.
Here, I got it. It's not after me, so it's fine.
True. Easy peasy, let's get it. Steelhead inside the base. Steelhead inside the base.
I see it. Goldie!
Down.
Goldie only had one egg.
Whack.
Whoop. Oh, I tried Steelio, sorry.
You're good.
Sorry, I tried, sorry.
Oh fuck, I ran out of ink and I didn't realize. High tide fog. Yeah, right? Fuck.
High tide fog sucks. Oh, I see you.
Thank you. Down. That's quota. Stay alive.
Easy. It's wave 3. You can use your ults.
There's so many eggs around us and we can't catch them in. Oh no! 41! New record.
That's a record. Hell yeah! Hell yeah! That was so good. We're getting better. Look at this.
95.
Look at us improving.
I wish you see my maneuvers on the beach. It was badass. Oh my god.
Jun, I believe you. You're an unstoppable force.
Let's go, June. Nah! That was birthday powers. Did you see that fucking score?
Oh my god.
Oh my god, now hold on. 21.99?
Yeah, $21.99.
Those are almost Tegan Turf War numbers.
That is Tegan Turf War numbers. That's good. Tegan needs to get back on Turf War. She's bad at it now, and she's mad about it.
Fair enough.
I like Army. Army's cool.
Army's cool?
Army can be in our
pool?
Yeah, our pool. Oh, we got 3 bows.
Alright, let's go.
Well. It's other way. The opposite direction we were all facing. Missiles.
Oh shit.
I got dead. A small fry got me.
I need ink. Oh my god, let me grab it. There we go. Ah! Oh, thank god! Let's go!
We're doing great!
Quota met. Army, how are you not in... Okay, there we go. I got you.
It's not Army's fault.
Okay, fair. No, not that they were dead. It was just like I couldn't like hit them for some reason.
I couldn't get them because there were too many other salmonoids.
Hmm.
Oh, I got Grizz Copo again.
Run it back. Come on. Mid-tide?
Mm-hmm. Steelhead and a dolphin. Whoa. Hello? Army?
Stinger down. Dolphin down.
Where's the stinger? You mean a steelhead?
Yeah, steelhead's down. My bad.
Well, now there's missiles somewhere. Where are the missiles?
Right side, or left side, across from the beach. Fuck, I'm out of me. Now you're dead. That works out for me. Thank you. There's a drizzler someplace. Oh, I see it. Ugh, wasn't clean. Got it. Drizzler down.
There's 2 sets of missiles and they're over by not the beach.
Both of them? Jesus, I'm getting the stinger first.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm out of ink. I'm gonna get surrounded, aren't I? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm getting out. I'm getting out. That's quota.
Dang it! I'm back here.
Where
Get
are
out
you?
of here.
Those aren't yours.
Everywhere I go, Jun is there.
June's out here protecting you. Let's go.
Jun is my hero.
Huh. Academia. Ah! Oh, no, that's not it.
I like after the wave is called, everything just walks by you. Like, oh, ship's over, guys. See you later. Ooh, okay, tent umbrella, high tide.
I got L spray. Army can hang out with us. Army dies 500 times. He was good last round. Oh, they were good last round. Maybe they handed off the controller. Oh, fuck. Ah, shit. Okay, that's fair. That's justice.
I'm trying, sorry.
No, you're good. Thanks, Sheen.
There were too many little dudes in my way. Oh my god, stop! No! I crushed between two steelios!
Ah! Okay, I'm going. It's fine. All of this is fine. Stun! Thank you. Jesus. Okay. Okay.
Alright, where's the steelio?
Almost quota. That's quota. We did it.
Where's the stinger?
It's down here. It's just short.
Can he not be short?
Well, now he's dead, so. Rip the short king, or whatever. Ah. Hey, fuck off! 15 seconds, don't die.
I will not make that promise. Oh my god,
Army.
I cannot make that promise.
34. We did it. That was stressful.
That was wild.
But we did it.
We did it! Army's most interested in putting eggs up, so... You did so good, they were suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Poor thing, poor Army.
They had an arrow spray, what the heck? 27 eggs though, so they're doing the work. I am clearly not.
10 deaths! Yeah, right? Army, please. 10 deaths is so many
Oh my
deaths,
goodness.
actually.
Imagine being able to die 10 times and still have fun.
It would be wild. June had 10 revives. Oh yeah, true. June OP, honestly.
Yeah, Jun OP for sure, for sure. Jun's got that cool badge now. That cool splash tag.
Oh, is this ballpoint?
Luna Blaster, high tide. Luna Blaster's such short range.
Big pop, though. Oh, I was about to say I died.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Oh, that's the thing about ballpoint. You can continuously fire and, like, charge. That's so gnarly.
Must. We're all like, Maz, mine.
Moi?
Jen, I see you. Oh no, I can't do this dolphin.
Jesus.
I need someone with actual ink coverage.
Turn around, Teagues. Pick me up, I got it. Tegan, don't dynamite.
I did. Whoa! I live, bitch! Holy shit!
Let's fucking go!
Alive! Ah! Give me those, not yours.
Ah, okay. There's like 14 eggs in here. If anyone wants to help, just saying. Thank you. Not yours. So many eggs there.
We're doing great. Oh my goodness.
Tease, I do want to congratulate you for surviving under pressure. That was pretty sick.
Thanks. I thought I was dead. And then I was not. Low tide.
I'm going.
Nighttime.
Cannons!
Cannons! Give me a cannon.
Which one do you want?
I'll take this one.
Okay. My singer.
No.
Damn, June really wanted the cannon I was on? Okay, my bad, June. I got this cannon.
Yeah. Good job, good job, good job. We're doing great. Who is getting eggs?
Army, I think. Ooh, the hang time on this is long.
Yeah. The fish stick behind us.
Dealt with.
Got it. I'm gonna go help the army, I think.
Oh my god, Singer killed me from downtown. I should have just moved.
Singer killed you?
Yep. Thanks, June.
Hey, when you got a sec to get back in a cannon, please and thank you. Nice. We could have done more.
Yeah, true.
We could have done more.
I hit the 5 sniper. Oh, the 5-hit sniper. I was not doing that.
Ah, nice. Mid-tide. Celio.
Where are you? Oh, there you are.
It's over here. Okay, so there's 3 of us with the...
There's Kushner.
Yeah. What? Oh! Missiles at the... not the beach. The other thing.
Okay.
Top it, Italian. Oh my god. Holy shit. Hello? Hello? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Gonna be okay?
No! There's a fish stick and a Stelia and Army's dead.
Army's fine.
And there's 2 sets of, dudes.
I'm currently being targeted by Italians.
Why
am I the only one alive? Ah! Yep, okay, I couldn't.
That was bad.
I made the wrong choice. I made the wrong
That was
choice, I'm sorry.
terrible. Sorry, John. John says no worries.
Jin's really nice to us. I am not worried, it's true. Oh, yeah.
Amazing! I wish I could be not worries. Oh, time to get our prizes, I guess.
Oh, yeah, true. How many do I have in here?
Oh,
25.
14. That's a lot of prizes.
I had leftover from like last time.
Mmm.
Chunks. Also chunks. Jesus. Chunks. Chunks. Chunks.
3 silver scales.
Nothing I want to buy. I'm gonna make the room again.
Okay. Dance with friends.
Room's up.
Yeah. Here we go.
I got a bunch of dollars I can spend them on her. Oh man, that's so good. It's like an earworm. It's God. Oh well.
We're doing so good today. It must be the birthday luck.
I'm feeling it. Let's see if we can break 95 today. That's what I want to do.
Doing great on Rocky's birthday. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right time. Rainboy.
I got him. Good shit, Teeks.
Thanks. I figure I got a bucket. I got a bucket, that means that guy's mine. Oh, get out of here.
No, that's not it.
Can't I it? Go. No!
I deserve that. This is justice. Fuck.
No, it's not.
Glad I know I can make that jump now.
Knowing you can make a jump and making it, though, are different.
True. Traded.
Stop trading.
Fine. Okay. Ooh, we take those.
Yeah, that was a good bomb.
I don't know where to go from here, though. Wait, I found it. Oh, it turned. I gotta throw grenades for those. That's
For
fair.
what?
I was trying to hit June with the Luna Blaster, but I was out of range. And so I should have just thrown the grenade. Blobber? Nozzle hose sucks? Damn.
Alrighty.
Good to know. Oh, you mean like the nozzle nose? Okay. Yeah, nozzle nose is kind of tricky. I'm not gonna lie. I got you covered, June. I'm blobbing the blobs. I'm blobbing.
Dude. Go. Hey.
Aw, I thought that would have hit her. Whoop, hey. Nope, can't go that way. Hey, everybody. Remember in Scooby-Doo where like Shaggy would turn around and it turns out the monster's right there?
Yeah.
That just happened to me with that Celio.
Amazing.
Whoa, why are there...
because they want to murder me. It's okay.
Noted.
It's not my fault I have a voluptuous ass or something.
Jesus Christ.
I do not. I want that on the record. I do not have an ass.
Okay, there we go. On the record, Tegan does not have an ass. Roll.
I'm a white girl. Are you kidding? No ass on me.
Jesus. Okay, let me get going this way. We need 5 eggs. Do we have them? Does anyone know where they are?
No, I don't think so.
3 eggs.
We have potential, but there's too much stuff going on.
Yeah, just okay.
Oh! Nope. Yep. Not quite. Ah!
Y'all left me for
Y'all
dead?
left me for dead. No, I went and got you, Jun!
June, I just didn't know where you were.
With 3 big boys. I'm sorry. I was dead. I couldn't help it.
I was screaming help. Okay, that's on me, June. I'm sorry.
I can't help when I'm dead.
June,
Tegan, I don't blame you.
June definitely blames me. That's fine. That's okay. I accept responsibility. It's my birthday. It's my responsibility. Everyone has a good time. I'm gonna work on it.
Oh. I'm over here bopping. Having a great time.
Let's go. Oh, nozzle nose.
Pencil time.
Okay.
And pizza. Pencil time.
Okay, it looks like we have low fire rate all the way around. Wait for the singer. Oh.
Well, yeah.
June, come with me for the singer.
Too early on the bomb. Mom says, you know what I'm looking for? A sweet treat.
Doing great. Money shot couldn't get out in time, but that's okay. I got you, money shot. Just get these eggs in the basket.
Ah.
I got you, T.
Between 2 Italians.
Ah, a little early. Fine.
That
on red
was
one.
not awful.
That was pretty good.
The sniper rider is a 2-shot on the steelhead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh.
Okay, 3 snipers and a stinger. Everybody play safe. Super defensive. Clean up everything. Money shot stands in the middle of the stage. God damn it.
Yep. Letting this E-liter come in a little. Oh!
Ah.
I'm getting out of here! Oh my goodness.
Stinger. I'm going for it. No, I'm not. I'm gonna run right into the water, apparently. Jesus Christ.
Hey, what if you didn't do that though?
Sorry, I'm bad at what I do.
It's okay, I got it. Come on, come on, come on. Got it.
One more, one more.
Threw it over.
Got it.
Great. 10 out of 10. We did it.
I was believed.
Don't die. I want to say I'm becoming a much better sniper, but jeez. Oh, here we go. Okay, Splatana. I got the wiper.
Mm-hmm.
I used all my ults last round, though.
I have one triple instinct left.
No, thank you. Ah! Oh, I jumped off the stage. Oops. Oopsies.
Easy.
My bad.
Need ping? Or you're already back up?
No, I'm up. I'm up already.
Okay. Ah, fuck. Gotta back up. Let's go to the... Ah, fuck. Okay. Ooh, that's not safe.
Jen, I see you.
Ah, 33.
Nice. Good job, good job, good job. Everybody did great.
Let's go!
Let's fight it again. Let's do it again.
Splatoon Flyfish is so sick. Actually godlike.
12-point splatling.
Splat shot Nova. Pop, 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 pop! Ah! Close.
Whoop. No, I got.
Pop, 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 pop! Teague's care? Damn it.
I was still immortal.
Lucky.
Oh, where are you? Hello. Nope, I'm dead. Heck. This is so much.
Damn it. Fucking Drizzler. Thanks, Teagues. Got it. No, I whiffed it? Ugh.
Ow!
Yeah, GG's.
I know we can do this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've only ever killed this thing once, but I know we can do it.
You're just not hitting the rotation. Like, you gotta, like, put the eggs... Like, if you don't have a shot at the mouth right where you are, shoot the egg to where, like... Where the Horbush is going, and then just go to that spot.
Did the eggs land?
Yeah, they land.
Oh, I didn't know they landed in Ouroboros.
Oh wait, actually hold
I
on.
thought they just vanished.
Wait, hold on, I'm not sure. You can't just shoot the egg. Never mind, June's right. Teeks is right. My
Yeah,
bad.
okay. Alright.
Then just hold the shot. Don't shoot it then.
Or you can shoot it at a boss. At like another boss Salmonoid, and it'll one-hit him.
True. 1 for 3 is a good deal.
Splatoon, why are you hard? Have you considered not? Hmm?
I think it's cool that Splatoon's hard.
Yeah, I like that it's hard. I like that it's challenging. It's not fun. You know?
True.
Oh, low tide.
Going. Oh, lucky. Doing great?
Alright, where are we looking? Where are we looking? Yeah, we're doing very good. We didn't finish that dolphin, though.
It's dead now. Oh my god, this thing didn't even let it land?
Nah, I didn't. Why would I let it land?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's gonna make a sploosh. Ah, I didn't get the drizzler. No! Got pushed in the water!
Here you go.
Thanks.
Off I go. 28.
Nice. Great job.
Solid low tide. Let's go.
Better. More low tide. More cannons.
Nah, the list.
No. Sniper Rider time. Dolphin.
Damn it. Didn't get it in time. I'm going for the fly fish stinger combo.
Okay. Alright, stinger down. Well, one stinger down anyway.
I overshot the fly fish's second packet.
I'm working on the other stinger.
Thank you. Oh, fuck.
Shit.
That-
Oh my god.
that was
we all
ki-
just got got.
That spot was a mess. There were like 2 dolphins and then like a big shot into steel eel.
Oops. We did not plan that one well. New plan. We don't do that again.
I'm down.
I like the Sniper Rider.
This was a gun.
I do wish my green slop suit gave me ink recovery up, though.
That
That would be nice.
I do not like this typewriter. I get that. That's fair.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. But it's for me! It's a snipe rider for Tegan? Okay. We'll get there. Ooh, okay.
Alright, here we go. Bamboozler tech.
I got a wiper. Where are we looking? Not this way. That way.
Down. Oh, I got surrounded. I didn't realize I was.
Oh, hey. Hello?
Yeah, I've covered that. Dolphin's coming in. Be careful.
Ooh. I'm not worried about the dolphin, but I was worried about that Stelio. He almost crashed me. Oh, Steel is coming in on the other side.
I see it. Just moving eggs at the moment. Ooh, there's another.
Big shot. Oh no, I got by the big shot.
Oh, jeez. Okay. A little early. June, dead of center, please.
Thank you. That was a great shot, June. Holy shit.
We need one
there
egg.
Are 3 big shots. We're
This
at
is the egg
quota.
that we not. Okay.
There's 4 big shots. Holy shit.
Okay.
That was nuts. Good job, Jun. Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Jun saved our asses.
I may not have had the impact that I wanted to have on that one.
That's okay. It's nighttime. You'll do it this time.
Fog.
High tide fog. Italian. In center.
Italian stunned. Italian down.
Italian or alien coming in on the other side. There's a Rainmaker also.
Noted. Stinger coming in. 1. Flip over. Flip over. Stunned. Down. Lily. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it really is not good.
Thank you, James.
I got the stinger, so. No! I got by the thingy. There are so many eggs.
Gotcha.
Good get. I got again. It's okay, we're over quota, just live. Man, all yeah had to do was roll. YouTuber time. Man, this Grisco really wants me to learn how to snipe today.
Yep, today. That's a chicken. You've been putting this shit off.
Yeah, I haven't done a single self-improvement Saturday where I've sniped in a while. Why are there so many?
Stelios?
Hello? Yeah. Oh god! There's these guys.
Fish sticks?
No, basket boys.
Oh.
Missiles.
Fly fish. Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck. I got this. I can live. I can live. No, I can't. God damn it.
It's okay, I got you.
Thank you.
Can someone please get that stinger?
I'm going.
Oh my god, I got
Fingers
by the
down.
fly fish.
Do it again. Oh, I'm the only one alive? Fuck.
Yeah. Jen and I are dead in middle.
Now you're not. Okay. You still need
This
help?
is my spot. We got it. Oh no, we need one more.
I got it. I just need to get there.
Quick.
Let's go! Ah!
Oh my god.
MVP of the round.
Lily, Jesus.
I thought we didn't got that. No, I hear you, June. Yeah, we gotta get rid of Lily. Lily can't hang with us anymore. She can't sit with us.
Lily tried, but did not succeed.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Jeez. We need to ditch Lily. Ugh.
June had 12 revives in that game. That's kind of nuts.
I was like, I can snipe, okay. And then I got 2 steel eels, and that was it. And then I just stayed dead the entire time because all I did was go, Lily, what are you doing? Lily, what are you doing? Cry. Like this if you cry, Eritim.
That was big wild. Okay, let's go back in. Let's do it. That should be enough to dodge Lily.
Yeah, that should be enough. I'm a professional.
Let's go.
You know what that means, right? Me either.
I don't know.
I don't know either. It's okay. Alrighty.
Crash Blaster, okay.
Okay, a Splatter Shot Nova. So I got a regular gun. It's high tide. Mid-range, mid-power, slightly slower shoot rate than I'm used to.
Okay, Flyfish. Left. No, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm working on the wave clear so you guys don't have to worry about it.
Flyfish down.
Great.
Fish stick down.
Great. Stinger, I'm on it.
Dolphin down.
Nope. Stinger's still in the pot. Me and Estrella are both down. We're right next to each other.
Got it.
Gun got us. Thanks.
Got it. Flyfish. 2 flyfish.
Yep, I see it.
Ooh, hey.
This, fish stick is messing me up, though. Oh, I died. Hey, thanks. Jesus Christ.
June's definitely an executive. Actually, June, just stay alive, right? Like, we're Makota. Who cares?
I care. Thank God for Jun. Thank God for Judd. Oh my God. Oh, okay. Now I have the Clash Blaster, and it's nighttime.
Oh, I got dapples. I got dualies. This is dually time. Oh. With the Goldie? Okay. How many of these could it be? Oh, there we go. Damn, almost killed her. Pots. Oh my god, is that quota? That's quota. Going.
That's quota, but who cares about quota when it's time for Goldie?
I'm picking up these eggs.
Nice! Good job, good job!
35. Good first round.
That's a... Yeah! No, that's wave 2.
What? Really?
That's not even first round, that's second round.
Oh, okay, cool.
Wave 3. Oh, I have the X-Splasher. It's nighttime.
Okay,
it's low.
Don't forget the X-Blosher can pierce on flyfish. You can hit like the baskets with it and they'll break.
Okay, but why would I do that when I could just be in a cannon?
I mean, I hear you. Woo! From downtown! You got Estrella, right, Teeks?
I got what?
Estrella?
Where's Estrella? Are they stuck?
They're dead, and they're like behind.
Oh. No, I did not. I didn't even realize they were dead. They're not dead anymore, though.
Okay.
They're about to be dead again.
Oh, those eggs, no! Okay, someone got them, thank you.
Oh my god, there's so many eggs at shore.
Teeks, you get those eggs, I'll cover you.
I'm working on it. Whoop! Nope! I got by a drizzler.
What? Oh my god, okay.
We're still on those eggs if you fire into this pile over here. Thank you.
You're welcome. But
we're not gonna get it though. Yeah. What? What the fuck is wrong with Estrella?
Yeah, I don't know.
That should have been an easy win. Man. I'm not salty.
I'm a little salty.
I'm not salty. I'm so not salty. I'm taking this so well. I'm being so chill and normal and good about it.
That's fair. We did kill too many at the shore. I got really hyped on the long range shots, and like I probably shouldn't have been taking those. Should let them walk in.
Okay. I mean, you can let some walk in, but like some of them just straight up don't walk in. So
yeah, you gotta kill the stingers and like the aliens. But I was hitting steelheads out there.
Oh yeah, no, don't hit steelheads out there necessarily.
Yeah. Back at it with the squeezer.
I got a regular splat roller.
Hi, Ty.
Me and Roller on Jun Tech. Me and Jun on Roller Tech.
Me and Roller on June Tag. Oh, I hit the wrong one. Oh, I didn't get that one in time.
Great news.
Flyfish is down.
There's another flyfish.
Word. Another flyfish. I got the one that's on the non gold fly spot. Ah, if I could just, you know, not miss. Got it.
Run. Oh, nope, not running. To run with this thing, apparently. Rocky, no!
I'm fine.
I saw the maw animation start, and I was like, oh no!
That one hurt. That one hurt my spirit. Oh, this is wave 1. We don't need any ults here. We're okay.
I did. That was me. I used a ult. I was scared.
I get it. Alright. Alright.
To me, it looked like everyone died. I panicked, okay?
I get it. That makes sense. Okay, Snipe Rider. This one's for Teagues. Let's go.
I got the bamboozler. I'll
Ooh.
trade you. Give me your controller.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Oh, I gotta go this way, actually.
Stop it.
Got it.
Stop it. Go away. Stop it. I don't like it. No. Leave me alone.
Shit.
Leave me alone.
That was poorly considered. Got it. This is close.
No. I got mozzed up on top of the thing.
Yeah, that one's gross. I hate that. Got you, Maz.
Almost got mozzed in the corner. Illegal.
Almost.
Jen is correct. Our 4th is not good.
Yeah, Estrella's not doing well. Dude, just yelling Estrella! Yeah, I hear that. Oh, fuck.
Maybe they're not doing well because that's not their name. It's Estrella.
No.
Estrella.
No, okay, so like, Estrella, like, with spelled exactly like that with the double L, gives it the Y sound in Spanish, it means star.
Oh, it's a Spanish name. Oh, I'm stupid.
Nah, it's cool. It could be Estrella.
Yell at them in Spanish.
But it's...
Yell at them in Spanish. Rocky. Practice your Duolingo right now.
Duolingo? Oh my god.
Yeah, yell at them in Spanish.
Estrella! Okay, no, I'm kidding. I wish
Get a flip-flop.
There is one thing that I actually wish I could do, which is just like talking like long, angry, uninterrupted Spanish for like minutes at a time. The way that like everyone does it.
Oh no!
Got it.
2 steel eels right here.
Ooh, I think I see him.
They crushed me. Like, they work together to crush me. My soul, my spirit, the whole thing.
Got it. Whoop! Hold on.
Oh my God! Steel eel, please.
Nope, that's fair.
Don't have any cake. Why are you chasing me?
Oh my God.
It's Rocky's birthday. He's the one with cake.
It's true. I do have the cake. Ah! Oh yeah, we have quota. Never mind, it's fine. Oh, we have quota. It's 3rd round. What am I doing? Excuse me.
I'm dying.
There we go. Get up. Up.
Oh my God.
Oh fuck.
Oops.
Okay, here we go. Horrorboros.
We can do it.
Let's go.
We're gonna win.
Estrella es estúpido.
Oh, I got a slasher. Okay, cool.
I got
cool.
nozzle
cool,
nose.
Cool.
Okay, let it come back around. Jude, I'm sorry. Jude, you've been avenged. And now you're revived. Okay, now here we go. Right here. This is our moment. This is us.
Were those good?
Those were pretty good. Ah!
No.
I'm getting this. I'm getting the singer. Everyone else go away. Oh my God.
No, I'm doing my best.
Taking another one.
I got it.
One pop, let's go. Oh, Drizzler still killed me? Okay.
We're not gonna do it.
No. Excellent boss clearing that time though, so there was that. But we gotta hit Ouroboros.
We gotta hit the Horbidorbos.
The Ouroboros.
Horbidorbos.
We're definitely not getting up the Treya. Oh my gosh. Also, Estelle's name is from Estrella. Yeah, that makes sense. Or Estella. Oh. Estrella? Estelle? Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. I knew that. They told me that at one point. But also yelling.
I do like that I'm kind of like intuitively doing squid rolls to avoid stuff now. That feels cool.
That is good. Alright, wiper time. Look how fast I am. I'm so fast. Oh, it's low tide.
I got the blade. Oh, tornado. Okay, I'm frontline. I got it. I got the sword.
I'll be relay point.
Noted.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck it up, Teagues.
I am doing my best, but I'm out of ink.
I'm with you. Pushing forward.
Fortune's all the way in the back by themselves.
I'm opening the second barrel.
Okay.
Going.
Whoop. Hi.
That's quota.
We're doing great.
Everything else is gravy.
I had to completely stop the relay to work on these stupid things.
I'm taking this one all the way in.
Yeah.
Ah, shallow!
Ooh.
Ooh, 36 is still good,
26 though. We could do better.
Yeah, true. I think
Do
we
better
can,
next time.
I think we get like 60 on it if we really get it together.
Ooh, you think so?
Yes.
Low tide still.
Going. Ink rush. Cannons?
No cannons.
Okay.
Dolphin back here.
I'm gonna die. A little early.
Is that too early?
Yeah.
Dang. Sorry, I'm fighting a dolphin, which I shouldn't be doing because I don't have an inking weapon.
I'm not mad at you, you're good.
I'm mad at me.
Thank you.
You can get this dolphin off my ass.
Oh, yeah,
please?
sure.
Hi, Nico. Hi, baby.
Done.
Like, I only do so much. There we go. That's where I live. Baby boy.
I don't know why I'm
All
the only
you,
one alive,
Rocky.
but
It's all whoever that is.
that was also me. Teams, why weren't you in that beam? Oh my god. Oh my god.
I was busy being dead. Sorry.
Please get up.
No!
Okay, yeah. Guys.
I got knocked in the water. Sorry.
June, you don't understand. When I was trying to pick you guys up with my ult, I got like 32 missiles fired at me. And then they all landed while I was dead.
That was funny. They landed while you were dead, but I got up and I immediately went back down again. It was like I didn't get up at all, actually.
Yeah. Because Len was taking care of Flyfish and died.
Died, yeah.
Alright, fine. And none of y'all res them? Yeah, I couldn't. I was trying to deal with the stuff inside the base. I had 2 steel eels and then like, what is it? I had 2 steel eels. No, 1 steel eel, 2 maws, a saucer, and the dolphin that I killed for Tegan. Like that all happened like back to back.
Yeah, I spent the first 30 or 40 seconds of that going, can someone with an inking weapon please come handle this dolphin? It is chasing me!
Len, please give us another chance. Len's gone? Aw.
Len left, yeah. We got Bubbles!
We can friend
Enjoying
Len.
the laughter. Ooh, I got an end zap. Oh yeah, sick. Alright. Unstoppable. I'm
Let's
gonna
go,
win.
Teagues. High tide.
I'm gonna win so hard.
Let's go. I don't see anything. Oh, there it is. You guys had it.
Oh, I died.
Teagues.
It's alright. Bubbles also died?
Come on, Bubbles. It's a little too long on that one.
Simply did not turn around. I'm not doing well. I'm too excited about having a regular gun.
Yeah, I hear that. Oh, right! That's how you kill those quick.
That was good. What'd you do?
Point blank shot, so like all 8 of my arrows came out at once.
Oh.
Well, that's gross. I'm not a fan of that. I like for that to stop, if that's cool.
I don't know what you want to stop, but I can't help.
The missiles? Oh!
Oh, yeah. Nah, missiles would be cool.
There we go. Oh, I missed it. Hey, dude! What's going on, bud? Colby says hi? Oh, hey, Colby.
Hi, Colby!
Okay.
Hey, baby.
Sniper.
Love Colby. Was it low tide? Shit.
Yep. Going. Dolphin! Let that Italian in. Okay.
We have too many things. No! Whoever splatted that, thank you. But also, I died anyway. Sorry, bad. I went from being cracked to terrible.
I mean, maybe you're tired a bit. Are you hungry?
Maybe.
No.
Maybe I could use a snack.
Oh, thank God. That one did not bonk me. Hi, everyone. Woo!
Was that fun?
That was a good line. That one was good. Got a little busy at the end, but we held the line. Okay, I'm hungry. June's hungry too. Got me on Snipe Rider? Okay.
Low tide again.
Going.
Steel eel. Or not steel, it's steelhead, not steel eel.
Hot.
I'm going after the sniper. Bang.
Noted.
I got dead. Gun also dead.
Jesus. How far are you guys? Oh, I see you. Okay.
There's a steel head coming up.
Stay still. Ugh. Don't know how worth that was.
Nope.
Thanks, June.
There's 2 snipers. Oh no. Yeah. No. Oh, I just keep dying out here. I'm coming in.
Yep, Stinger got me.
I don't have any ults left.
GG's.
We're not getting it, yeah. We ran out of time. Let them come in. Yeah, I would have, except I was out there for the sniper.
Okay, yeah. You guys take a break. I've been munching here, so I think I'm just gonna do... What can I do? I can try after Alterna, at least for a little bit.
No, it's okay. I'm not hungry, so I'm okay.
Okay.
I snack here. I have oatmeal cream pies.
Dope.
How many do I have? 6. 5. I have 5. I have 5 oatmeal cream pies, so I'm gonna be fine. Oh, you meant at the very beginning of the round. That's fair. Yeah, I tried. Snack.
Oh, yeah.
We're going out to the grocery store later to get more snack.
True. I gotta wait till Wednesday.
Why Wednesday?
I get paid on Wednesdays.
Oh, on Wednesdays?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's a little weird.
Mm-hmm. I get paid, quote-unquote, on the 15th and, quote-unquote, on the last day of the month.
Fair enough.
I also get 2-day early pay. And also, if the last day of the month is, or the 15th is like a Saturday, or a Sunday, or a holiday, or on a holiday weekend, sometimes it gets funky.
Yeah.
Oh. I jumped in the water.
That was high tide?
No, I just misjudged the jump a little bit.
Okay. Wait for the singer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's efficient. Oh. That's what it is. I was like, my... You seem weird. It was because I was holding my controller funky when I reset before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I took a lot of drizzly damage. It's fine.
No, I fell in the water again! But it's staying out of the water right now.
I know you're sweet.
No! Yeah, I know. It's because I'm trying to aim in those baskets. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
A little bit, but it's gonna be fine.
Yeah, we're gonna be okay. Where are? Oh, somebody's used both ults first thing.
Yeah, they panicked, you know? Ah.
We got it.
Yeah, we were fine. We went 6 over. Mid tide?
No tide.
Okay, going.
Tornado.
Ah, shit. Okay. I'll help pop it, but I'm like second stage relay, I think.
Okay. You doing all right over there?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just can't. I'm just stuck on wait here for a bit.
Buddy, we know how it works. We're trying to relay these bitches.
And let him scream. It's okay. fine for the second group.
I'm acting as third relay for this dude.
Okay.
He does not seem to understand entirely how this works. Oh, hello. Hey, guys. Hey, get away from me. Thank you. Thank
Burning
you.
one. Oh, I don't have enough time to get this one in.
That's all right. We got 30 out of 18. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Alright, and I got Grizz Fishing.
Oh, it's low tide again.
Going.
Mothership.
Oh, sick. Okay. Okay.
Low tide, I think, is just a little too far to do the strat.
Maybe. What are you booyah bombing for?
Mothership. I'm getting swarmed.
Oh yeah, Teeks, like, come back here. We can.
Yeah, I'm coming. Oh. Nice. Good job. Everybody except me.
Oh my god, Teeks.
I spent most of the time down, so like, you know.
The teammates are annoying, June. You know, Tegan accepted. Because all they're doing is just kind of pinging randomly.
Tegan is in the clear for that one. I feel like Ink Thinner would be a self-saboteur.
I hear that.
But Ink Thinner put up 50 eggs. Oh, wait, no, wait, never mind.
Yeah.
They were the last round.
They were the last round.
Yeah.
They were
never
yelling at us
mind.
that we weren't padding their score enough. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Ooh, yeah, that's sick.
Oh, Hokusai Wave is here.
Who?
Hokusai Wave? I don't know, that's just their username. Oh, I got a flingsa! Heck yeah, watch me go! Watch me run!
I have needle nose. What am I looking for here?
There's a there's a...
Whitefish. Fuck. Oh, that's so annoying. Oh, Hokusai Wave, the famous painting. Okay, cool. I forgot.
Yeah.
I may have forgotten what it was called.
I took out the thing, but at a price.
I hear that.
Oh, good throw, good throw.
I feel like there's always a stinger shooting at me. I'd like for that to stop.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try. Whoa! There's a steelhead over here?
God damn it. Oh, I overshot it.
Whoa. Sorry, hang on. I'm coming back.
I'm going to get this other stinger.
Sorry, but I died for it. So we only need one more egg.
Going.
We got it.
Easy. Close, Rocky. Simply dodge. Yeah, right?
Oh my god.
I did it. I dodged.
Simply dodge. We just have to... What do we have to do? We have to get good?
True.
Seems like a challenge.
Nighttime?
Uh-oh, it's nighttime. No, mothership.
Okay.
I have a Clash Blaster, so I'm not gonna be much help. Ooh! Someone's got a sniper! Oh no, Ink Finger's got it. He's launching them from downtown.
Let's go.
You're doing great.
Here we go. Okay.
Nice.
That works.
Much better. Now we just need one more win. Oh no. I have a 96 scout.
I got the reflex.
You're fine then. You're gonna kick butt. No.
Oh, hi.
What is it?
It's a dolphin.
Oh. Oh, a fish stick. I love me a fish stick.
The fly fish somewhere?
Finish.
They both died?
I did die, yeah. And Ink Thinner got also.
Yeah.
Yeah, where is that? That's obviously... Ah, here it is. Here you are, you shithead.
Ugh.
It's over here. There's also a Rainmaker over here.
I currently got.
Oh no.
Ink Thinner doesn't have a great control over the...
No, I missed it! Okay. Oh, there's this... Okay, hang on. No! Yes! No! He's right underneath the thingy! The saucer! No!
Oh my god.
No! No! Ah. Everything is over here.
Ah! What's everything over there? Okay.
I don't know.
I'm going.
Oh shit! Nope.
Yeah, GG's.
God. Oh my lord.
Ugh.
The fly fish underneath the saucer was so good. No.
Wait, why didn't you just drop the saucer on it?
I died.
Okay, that's fair.
That's why I was like, no, and then I was like, no. Because no was I died, and then it went right underneath the saucer, and that was the no.
June can hop back in? Okay, cool. Let's wait for June.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John, for helping us.
June_Monday, aka June Force Gemini. Man, I need like a list of like 5 of those. In we go. June Force Gemini, let's go.
June Force Gemini is good. Hello? Oh, they're playing with the doorway toy.
Oh.
I just heard like a knocking and I was really confused, but it's because a cat jumped and then smacked himself into the door. You know how it is. Okay, I got a splatling.
I got a stamper.
I
tied.
I tied. Not my side. Oh.
Oh, bye,
Stormy just hanging out.
Damn it, so close.
Hey, I'm trying, Jen. Those are my eggs.
Let's
Please
go.
leave them alone.
Oh, he blocked it. There it is. Got it.
Is Stormy moving yet?
Not in a little while. I think they were just waiting to hit that one dude. Oh, I'm gonna... Am I dying? No, I'm not dying. Yeah, I'm dying. I'm dead.
Have you considered not dying?
I'm working on it. I'm developing the technology.
No! I got fly fish. It's okay. Just live.
Yeah, we got
Simply
it.
live. Thank you for living.
No, nose.
Nighttime.
Ah, shit.
Oh, grillers.
Fine.
I don't know where you want to be for grillers, honestly.
Same spot. Because we use the elevated space as it's trying to come up. Time to move. Up. Damn it. I got hit by small fry. Thank you. I'm gonna take it for a mini chase real quick. Ah!
Man, Stormy is very good at heavy splatling.
That's cool. That's good news for us, I think. Oh, hi. Yep. Hey, they're both here. Just stay alive. There's enough eggs on the ground. That's 20. Just live. Just live. God, there's so many small fry. Okay, I'll take that. First grill of the day? No failure? 5 above quota?
Oh, hi, Bach.
Okay, I gotta slosh it.
I got a flopper. Where? No. Please don't even.
Flyfish over here. Teeks, can you get this with your X-Splasher?
Trying.
Never mind, it's dead. It's dead, actually.
Somebody got it, but it sure wasn't me.
Oh, that was close. Ah! Ah! Okay. That was a mess.
We're a 3-slusher crew right now.
Yeah, okay.
Something important to bear in mind. Oh, Jesus Christ. Pat, now is not the time to fight next to me, please.
Damn it. Oh, at least my weight breaker got you, King. Okay, let's get these eggs in. Reset. So you can get to something that makes sense.
I got dead.
I'm kind of cornered over here, but we're only 5 down. We should be okay. 3 down, easy peasy. 2 down, beautiful work. That means they're already on the field. Ten seconds. I just need to get up. Okay. That's quota. We did it. I always believed in us. We did it.
I'm glad you did. I did not.
That was stressful.
Did you accidentally shut yourself in here, buddy? Fox says I would like to eat an oatmeal cream pie, please. He's a cat and does not know that one sugar is bad for him.
Now, Luxa looks at my like charcuterie board with my fancy cheese every once in a while, and then he just pukes that bread away. And it's just like, dude, come on. Like, you know you can't eat fancy cheeses.
He's like, I would like some fancy cheese, though. Just a little bit. Now, Lux really can't have lilies. Or daffodils.
Fair enough.
A little cheese is a treat.
Fancy cheese for a fancy cat. I mean, he is a distinguished gentleman. Don't get me wrong. It's just like, his constitution can't handle it.
Oh, he's intolerant of lactose. I see.
I think so.
I mean, most cats are, but...
Wait, really? I thought cats like milk.
Kittens can have milk. But they can't have cow milk. They have cat milk.
Okay, that's fair.
Cats can't have lactose. It makes them shit.
Okay.
And sometimes it makes them barf. Just like real people who are intolerant of lactose. Cats are people too.
Cats are people too.
But they do make cat milk, just like they make cat wine that your cats can drink.
Cat wine?
Yeah, cat wine. It's just got catnip in it.
Okay.
It's like catnip tea, essentially.
That's a little wild.
Good throw.
I think I had one of those. I don't know if that was the one that you were...
There's 2 drizzlers over here.
I'm way clear.
I mean, I am also way to clearing, but different. Oh, hi. There are so many things. John, I'm trying. I promise I'm trying.
Okay, there's like 32 eggs right here. Please help me get them.
Okay, I'm coming. Get out of here.
Eh, 29.
I got like 2 of them in.
True. Most cats grow out of being able to digest milk. Tragic.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how like most people grow out of swimming without practice.
I know how to swim.
I mean, I also know how to swim, but apparently babies can like swim from basically the womb.
Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. And they instinctively know to hold their breath if they go underwater.
Alright.
Which is wild to me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Baby's smart.
Baby's big brain. So wrinkly and soft. Amazing.
Oh, there's a mouse here? Oh, they got it.
There's a fish stick over here, but that's my job because I got a regular gun.
Lock it up, Teeks.
I mean, assuming I don't die on the way over.
Yeah, you're good.
Oh no, Jun's here. I don't have anything to worry about. I finished it for you, Jun.
Got the fish. Got the fly fish.
I got dead though.
We're above quota, there's like 6 over here.
So our base is kind of a mess right now. I say base is kind of a mess, like everywhere isn't kind of a mess, but you know.
35.
36.
36. Nice, nice, nice.
But you can buy a thing called cat milk, and it's sold in a little box. It's got a little happy cat on the side, and cats can drink that.
Okay, cool.
And also cat wine, which just says catnip in it, or silver leaf.
Silver leaf?
Mm-hmm. It's like catnip. Similar properties.
Okay.
Some cats don't like catnip and do like silver leaf, and other cats don't like silver leaf and do like catnip. So. Oh, hi. Oh, hi. Hey, hi.
You're good.
No, there was a Moz.
Oh, okay, I didn't see the walls.
It doesn't matter. I wasn't good. Turns out I was indeed bad.
Got the Moz. Oh no! Ah! That's okay. If that didn't get me, the Stinger was gonna get me.
Ah! It wasn't the bomb that got me, it was the small fry.
Oh, I hear that.
Oh, it's wave 3. Wait a minute.
$35. 38, 39, 40. Come on. No, I could have had 42.
Good job.
All right.
Oh, Aniko Azuna. Oh no, Horbidarmus.
The horror.
The horrors! Can't believe we got a case of the horrors again.
Oh god. Sloshing machine? Shit.
Oh, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah, hell yeah.
Let's go, Teeks.
Hell yeah.
Whatever that is.
I'm about to be cracked. It's my gun. It's my gun.
Oh shit! Like actually? All right.
Yeah, like actually, I have my gun.
Over here. I got pushed off. That's okay. I'll take that.
Oh, I got.
One break. Ah, I keep getting pushed off at this one spot. June. Nice. Broken.
We're gonna get it.
I want to believe.
This time for sure.
Fuck. No, I got trapped.
Ah,
Eh,
dang it!
Timeout's
my
better.
gun everything.
New record, 106.
I was doing so well, and I got up on top of that fish stick, and he was right there, and I just launched all 3 eggs right in his fucking mouth, and it still went off. Bullshit. That was both bullshit and illegal.
Oh my god, Teeks was cracked. Let's go. 1205?
Yeah. It didn't matter though. In the end, it didn't even matter.
Oh my gosh.
Dang it! Look, I have my gun too.
Whoa, we cleared 142.
We did?
Yeah, that was a 142.
Yes.
See, Teeks, I told you to get better. Let's go!
Are we gonna be able to do it for the extra work though?
I want to believe.
I got an end zap. It's low tide. Okay.
Going.
I'm so fast.
Okay, Teeks, watch your back, but... Fly fish down? Excellent work.
Yeah, fly fish back. Fly fish down, watch him back.
Let the dolphin come in. Don't fight it here.
Oh. I did not pick up an egg, and I totally thought I had picked up an egg.
We'll fight dolphin there. You need that fish stick on?
I'll get it.
Okay.
Where someone else is getting it. I'm 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 on it. I'm on it. No, come on.
Got it.
Yes! I got it. I got it. Don't worry about it. I got it. I got it. Who's down?
June, but not anymore.
Okay. Jen, but actually it's fine.
Yep. Okay, that was a mess. That was unpleasant.
No, stop it. Leave me be! No, I died. It could have been 30.
It was 30.
Oh, it was. Nice.
Okay, yeah, these fly fish were just here. Not fly fish, fish sticks were just there, and we couldn't leave them there. We had to clear those.
Yeah.
That's on me. I'll take that. Tentobrella. Let's go.
Oh, I got a roller. It's nighttime. What are we looking at?
High tide.
Mudmouths?
Grillers.
Oh, fuck me. All
Okay.
right. Nope. Ha 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 ha. Kidding.
Don't move, Teeks. Oh, you're okay. Okay, damage.
No. Fuck.
I deserve that.
Oh my god! It's just all the time! It's literally all the time everywhere!
Yep. Shout out to Michelle, yo. Oh, fuck.
There are so many eggs on the ground that we just need to get in.
Uh-huh.
And I can't stay up long enough to get them in.
Shit. We need to kill one more griller, but we also need to get these eggs in. Thanks, Teeks.
I'm getting out of here, sorry.
Using it. Fuck it. We didn't kill the griller. It wasn't vulnerable. Do we have the 2 eggs? No? Damn. Ugh. That was a rough griller round.
It was! That was real bad. I don't think that was anybody's fault, though. I think that was just bad.
Grillers are rough, yeah.
Grillers don't suck.
Yeah, we couldn't kill
Grillers
that first
drink.
one.
They drip.
They drip? Oh no, they ooze.
They ooze. They cook. We let them cook. That was the problem.
Fuck, who let the grillers cook?
We did. I didn't have a weapon that could hit them. I had a roller. Which puts me on small fry clearing, right?
Yeah, that sounds right. Like, rollers aren't, like, great for killing
I was
grillers.
trying to roll the small fries, but I kept getting dead.
Yeah. Hey, Squad wish me a happy birthday. Okay, I have a big swig. No, this is a splat. This is a splat roller. High tide splat roller.
Up we go. Oh. Whoop. Up. Nah, I just swam right through that grate. Sure did. Like an idiot.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's a mouse. I threw it too late. That's quota, everyone just live.
Working on it.
Yeah, no, I deserve that. That's fine.
Oh, just me, huh?
We did it. Good
Nice.
job, Teeks.
I didn't see everybody die.
It literally happened right at the last second.
I did it! Yay! Everybody fighting for their life, me. La 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 la.
Yeah, Teeks really Stan Lee in the library right now.
Yeah, right. Alright, I have, ooh, fish stick time. Everybody gets a fish stick. You get a fish stick, and you get a fish stick. Well, there's some spicy boys coming in. That's a spicy boy over there.
Avenge June.
Thanks for murdering the Spice Man.
You're welcome. But June, we can't be here. June, we have to go.
Oh no. Where can you guys not be?
Hold on.
Hi, John. I see you. Up.
Oh, nope, I deserve that. That's justice. God damn it. Just like a hair too slow. Thanks, June.
Oh no!
God damn it.
What happened?
We're fine. Everything's fine. See?
What just happened?
We won. We survived. That's all that matters.
What happened? Hello?
Everything's fine. Nothing happened. Let's just move on. Dynamo roller, sure.
Nighttime.
Low tide or high or mid tide rather?
Mid tide.
Thank God. I was about to walk into my death.
Mud mouths!
Oh, I can chill on some mud melts. Let's go. Damn it, I gotta overroll my small fry.
Oh god! They came at me from two sides. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I hear that.
Oh, great job, Rocky. There's a big one down there.
Oh, right. Ah, hi! Hey, everyone! God, this is taking too long. Please get these in. Guys?
I got two in.
They're not all there? No!
Nope. Oh my god, what happened? We had that field!
I was on the dynamo roller. I was slow.
We were doing fine. I'm gonna let me die.
Okay, it's fine.
Merkaberg.
Merkaberg.
Merkaberg
Oh my-
is correct. I can't believe they did that to you on your birthday, Rocky.
Yeah, that's kind of
Illegal.
garbage. Ugh, my birthday? Okay, it's fine.
On your birthday. You know what? It's a good thing we have birthdays spread out.
True.
Instead of doing a stream anniversary, we can just do 2 birthdays.
See if that helps.
Ooh, I got a splat charger and it's high top.
Okay. Okay,
No, not this time. It's never the way I think it's gonna be. Oh, I didn't get to snipe it.
Sorry, Tees. Watch out for the Moz. June.
Who wants to get that fish stick? I got your lineup for you.
Oh, there's a second
Behind
fish.
us. Shit! Oh no! Oh no! I can't be here. No! No! I died. I can't be here. No!
Give it a second. Ah!
No. No, 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 no.
Just one more, just one more, just one more. Teeks? Oh, thanks whoever that was.
Me!
Let's go, Teeks.
But also I got the egg. Live, just live.
Trying. I failed.
Jun, live.
Good stuff.
Oh my god.
Nice work, Julie. I
We did so good! You died late.
Yeah, but you
What do I
died
got?
after it mattered, you know, so it's fine.
I have a splatter shot.
I also have a splatter shot.
No, it's never where I think it's gonna be.
Ah, fuck. Easy 6. Does someone have that singer?
Yeah, Jen and I both got it.
Let's go. I'm working on this first day. Oh, actually, I overestimated how safe I would be when I jumped down here.
Yeah? I'm getting that stinger.
Okay.
I'm on it. 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 I'm so on it. Oh my god. Cracked. No, I'm not. Woo.
Help. Thank you.
Oh, I died. Sorry.
Easy. Ah,
We lived!
we did. It's true.
Why do I keep getting Brellas?
Okay, rapid blast.
It is literally never the side I'm on.
They're afraid of you, Teeks. Fish fear you or whatever.
Big shot.
I'm going. Oh, hi, Celio.
No! I died. Watch out, there's a Steelio coming.
Yep. Whoa, what's going on in there?
I have no idea.
I'm going for the fly fish.
The flex got me mid-ult.
Yeah, I hate that. Oh, there's a... Okay, now I see what's happening.
What's happening?
So there's a fish stick inside the base, and that's what's impeding our movement for the most part, but we need to deal with it so that we can get the rest of the eggs that are already inside of our base. Well, GG's actually.
Yeah, nope. Ah!
I had this super Google duels. Oh man, fuck this. Ooh. God, some of these are tough.
+1 again. I'm back up at my ceiling.
We've been bouncing up against 146. Those are the last two that we lost. We lost a 140.
Yeah, this is my ceiling. This is where I struggle.
Yeah, that's fair.
I hate it.
All right, well, Teeks, I need you to surpass your limits right now.
It's not gonna happen this round.
What? What's up with that?
I got X-Blosher.
What do you mean? You're a fly fish killing machine.
I have not managed to kill flyfish with this thing once.
Okay. Well, it's the first time for everything. Right there. Wait for it to open.
Uh-huh.
And then hit the... Yeah. Just like
I
that.
got it.
Let's fucking go, Teeks.
Yeah, I did it. Look, I did it. It's because my senpai was watching me.
Oh my god. Yeah, June was definitely here the whole time. Ah, okay. Okay.
I got dead. A flyfish murdered me in revenge.
Yeah, that's fair. Go get it, Teeks.
Where is it? There it is. Come here, you little fuck. Oh, no! No! They won't let me.
Give it a second.
I will die every Tim. I am still dead.
Got it.
Oh my god, that took so long. Hello?
Damn it! I lost my ult.
Nope.
That was
Oh
rough.
my god.
Good job surpassing your limits, Teeks.
I did not surpass.
You killed a fly fish the first time that you've ever done it. That's a limit you broke. I saw it happen.
Yeah, that did happen, I guess. When do you think Grizz will let us retake our employee photos?
Whenever they have to renew it for the insurance.
Oh, okay. So soon?
Hopefully, yeah. Okay.
Suffering. I'm sorry, John. I'm so bad. I'm learning, but I'm so slow.
Splasher's just weird. It does a lot of movement. Also, this might be a Horror trend.
Orbidobridos.
You're...
I miss Chungus. I wonder how he's doing.
I hope he gets a shirt, you know? It would be funny if, like, Kozuna comes back and it comes, like, back with, like, a suit. Like he got a promotion.
Oh my god. It's the boss.
Yeah,
Who do you think the next one's gonna be? What do you think the next one's, like, big, fancy thing is gonna be? Is it gonna be, like, an upgraded Italian where it's just extra armored?
I think it's an upgraded, like, griller. I think it's, like, a saucer type thing, maybe.
Ooh, okay.
June, let us know when you're ready, alright? If I can... This is the lineup, I think. So like, if I stand like here, and I look this way, I can get these three and pop that one, like that.
Oh. Ooh, that's pretty good.
Head to bathroom? Word, no worries.
Help me! I want bathroom too! No!
Ooh,
It's okay. I'll do it next time. Do it next time, it'll be fine.
Whew. Okay, here we go.
I have an end zap.
I have a Squiffer.
That means I'm just gonna go feral.
Let's go, Teeks.
I'm gonna die all the time though, because that's what happens. I get so excited, I just die.
Knock it off, Teeks.
No.
Italian in the base. Italian stun. Dying down.
I got too excited, I didn't even grab the egg!
Thank you, Bubble Tea. Flyfish. Far side.
And a big shot.
Flyfish down. I died to Chum, though.
Sorry, I'm getting the fish stick.
Thank you.
I promise. There's 2 fish sticks.
Got one.
Someone is asking for help. Why are there 2 big shots? I can't afford 2. John needs help!
That's quota.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see, I got you.
It's because you wouldn't rest me? Sorry, June. I was like looking for the last couple of eggs. I wanted us to win.
It doesn't matter, you gotta help your friends. Rocky, you can't be selfish.
I wasn't being selfish. I was thinking of the team.
Thinking of the team is rezzing your team.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And also eggs. We had eggs though. It was fine. Why are there so many drizzlers? Hey, who decided it was okay to have this many drizzlers on the field? I just want to talk.
Oh, Jesus. I'm gonna go find June before he gets mad at me.
No, I died. Thank you. Oh, nope, I got squeezed. We're over quota. Stay alive.
There's so many eggs! I can't catch any of them, man.
That's alright. We were over quota, so it was fine. It's stressful.
Okay.
Low tide.
Cool. Let them come in.
Oh, I swam. In the ocean. Swam in the ocean.
Good stuff.
Yeah! Good swim!
Avenged.
Oh, poor John.
Not yours.
Oh, I fell in the water. It's okay. I just slid. I was very close.
Woo! The invuln on the Akira slide saved me.
Oh my god, lucky.
True. I'll die for that, that's fine.
Ah! I died trying to get Eggy.
I hear that. GG's.
Good job, good job.
Oh my god. Right.
Ah! It's time to die.
Okay. Fine. I'll go. Fine. What do I have?
Oh no,
First
I have an
go.
X-Flosher.
You're on flyfish duty.
Yeah, I guess.
Ah, no one. Okay, it's fine. I deserve that. I do. I deserve that.
No, I'm on dead duty. I'm dead. Ha. I'm so slow. Nope, I got it. We're not gonna do it.
That is the closest we've gotten today.
Mad.
True. I hear
Angie.
that.
I don't deserve my cute little pose.
We put up numbers. We were going.
We were doing something.
Bubble tea is better than bubbles. I hear that.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Got kicked out. That's fine. I'm actually tempted to stop here and not do the lab.
It's your birthday. You can do what you want.
It's true.
We did just do a Horror Bars too, so like, not the worst place to stop.
True. I think we can call it here. Hey everyone, this has been the Impossible Coin stream. Thank you for joining me here on my birthday. We're gonna go and find someone to raid. Obviously, there are other people streaming today. We should pass that forward, I think.
Yeah, I got so many things.
Oh, Black Girl Gamers is doing a Birth by Sleep level 1 crit run of Kingdom Hearts.
Ooh.
That could be cool. I don't see anyone else on my feeds. But if anyone else... Hey, Rocky, thanks for streaming on your birthday. No problem, Jude. Of course.
Yeah, thanks for streaming on your birthday.
Also, this has been a podcast week, so you should see more... There should be some Impossible Coin streaming stuff for you. We're also doing Anime Night tomorrow, and it's the beginning of the new season. I know there's new Demon Slayer, but we're also going to try to wrap up all the finale stuff that we missed last week when I wasn't here. Chris Sanseal's streaming Fortnite? Okay. Let's go read Chris. No, wait, okay. My friend. Hey, out to Chris. What up, Octo? How you doing, bud? June, what am I waiting for? Rensu-chan is streaming Breath of the Wild. Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, let's do that. So we're gonna raid Rensu-chan.
You came in right at the end.
Yeah, we just fought our Ouroboros. We endured the horrors, and we lived, but we didn't win. But it's okay. We'll be back next time. But enjoy Rensu's Breath of the Wild. Take it easy. Do big things.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Okay. And then I press stop.